I think that Kemi is a bit thick in the head. I don't even know where half of what she's saying is coming from. But that's me being personal. But I'm just saying that in line with what she's elected to do, what she says she is in the office that she holds today.
Yeah.
Me, I just think that she's grossly incompetent. I mean, I think that, going forward, that the British voting public would probably dodge a bullet, the earlier they get rid of her. Please.
So today's episode, we were thinking would be more of a catch-up, even that a lot of events have transpired since the last time we had the original scammers on the microphone. Which is what we have today. Of course, scam world champions. Of course, with the reigning title going to the Calabar-based socialist intellectual Emeka, and then also OAG based in an unknown location, undisclosed location.
Gentle 100.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, yeah. So as you might have guessed from the voices, is the regular crew that's back on the ones and twos today. And as mentioned, since we haven't really had a chance to discuss things in depth since prior to the break, we thought we'd do a kind of round robin, Russian roulette of topics, and some of which we'll revisit after now. I guess the key question to begin is what have you guys been tracking? What's on your mind? What have you been paying attention to in respect to the news and current events, historical developments of note? I know there's been some discussion about the Trump inauguration and the Nigerian presence there on Nigeria and global conservatism. But yeah, what stood out to you guys that included, but in more general terms as well?
Yeah, it's just Trump getting in and a lot of enthusiastic support from different parts of the country. When I say the country, I mean Nigeria, because I've seen the Nigerian Christian Association cheering on, and even some parts of the north. There was some sort of celebration with banners and people singing and dancing, welcoming Donald Trump in there. So, this probably leans on our previous episode about why Trump sort of became victorious, on that election cycle. So it's interesting to see what his presidency will bring on, but he has, from what I heard, signed some executive orders. So, which is not looking good for immigrants and people that are trying to get into the United States, and a lot of things for the environment, for energy, all that. So it's interesting to see how things play out. And he's been talking about ending the Ukraine-Russian conflict, peace in the Middle East. So he's fresh in office at this time. He's been there once, but we'll see what he comes up with again. So it's been Trump that's been the front runner, and Nigerian pastors going to pray at the inauguration, at one of the inauguration breakfast meetings or whatever.
The prayer from here is much stronger than the prayer in America, so I get why he got those guys to go there. But did you notice also that he said that he now declared that there are two genders? American policy, federal government policy holds that there are only two genders. So I can see why people who are very who have a very clear view about the mathematics of gender. To them, they have limited quota in their brain for genders. Would have really enjoyed that reflection.
Yeah.
A including in northern Nigeria. Me, I actually think there's only one gender. It's just male. So I think Trump is too woke. Yeah, Mega, your take. I mean, what has anything stood out to you about the Trump inauguration thing or this Nigerian reactions rather?
Not totally, to be honest. Yeah, all that I know or hear is that he has been sworn in.
Yeah,
and
he has been sworn in. That's you're correct there.
And that he's threatening fire and brimstone as usual. Yeah. I mean, after a while, this is not like the first time that he was elected. That you're not under any stupefying effects. This is his second bite at the cherry. And then if you've learned anything about Trump, is to wait and see.
Right.
So I think that perhaps what I did note, amidst the flurry of activities, that he's been engaged in, since or in the lead up to his swearing in, is this executive bill that OAG mentions.
Yeah.
Saying to the effect that time is no longer. It's that we're gone past, that time when once you had your child, or you gave birth to a child on American soil, that child automatically becomes, a citizen. So,
what the conservatives call anchor babies.
Oh, okay. So I don't know what ways that's appealing to, but so that's there. We know what base the early two gender rhetoric appeals to.
Nigerians on Twitter for sure.
Yeah, so that's so which you can explain the invitations by that the Nigerian pastors or whatever they're called, reverends. So that generally gives you an idea. Okay, so I think what's probably missing from that pellet is his disposition towards the BRIC nations and also the news that Nigeria has been announced as a partner to that coalition. What that then means economically for us as a country, and the geopolitics of BRICS and America. How that plays out. In typical Trump style, I think he's already begun the madness of putting funds to donor agencies or organizations like the World Health Organization, and I mean that you're going to get a rush of those with him. So I think in a nutshell, Trump is being Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I think the question about BRICS and changing geopolitics is one we probably should revisit because it's interesting. It might have some implications. It might not. It might be mainly discursive. But I think it would be an interesting one to revisit based on what you said about Nigeria playing this kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of politics with BRICS, sitting on the sidelines but being now closer into the mix than previously. And what the effects of this might be, how serious of a proposal the BRICS currency and BRICS question really is. But I mean, I think just remaining on the level of responses or reactions, I'm really curious about reactionaries maybe. I think I want to sort of change tack a bit and consider the question of Kemi Badenoch, because there might be something related here to pursue. I mean, of course, we have already talked about Nigerian conservatism and Trump, but there might be something to be said about Nigerian conservatism online, and like whether there is a bit of a concerted effort, especially by people like Kemi Badenoch, to tap into a certain kind of Nigerian discursive ecosystem. I mean, I raise this because, again, of recent, there's been some other Kemi Badenoch explosion, intervention about Nigeria being a shithole country, or Nigeria being a place she managed to escape from. The UK is becoming like Nigeria, a basket case, etc. Which of course then makes Kemi Badenoch a trending topic in Nigeria and also globally. Is this happening on purpose? I mean, can we say that? Well, how will you just react in the first place to this whole Kemi Badenoch, the repeated Kemi Badenoch thing? And I guess I see a segue there in the sense of Nigerian conservatism, be it pastors or just discussants online, seeming to be increasingly present in global conservative spaces. Kemi Badenoch herself being a reflection of that, but also the pastors of the Trump thing. So, yeah, just curious, how do you guys react to this? There's a rising profile of Nigerian conservatism, especially online. Is there a dynamic? Is there a trend here happening that is worth paying attention to?
What do you mean by rising profile of Nigerian conservative? Can you unpack that?
Well, okay, for one, Kemi Badenoch herself is literally a rising star in the conservative movement globally.
Yeah.
And she's Nigerian. And then how she frames Nigeria in her speeches and discussions seems to appeal to a certain kind of Nigerian online, or at least become a point of reference in Nigerian discussions online and offline.
Okay.
That's one element of the question. The other is like, yeah, is this happening on purpose in a way? Like, do you think she's playing into something particular, a certain kind of maybe media strategy that involves referencing Nigeria? And I mean, maybe it's a more general trend, as we were suggesting or discussing before the episode, of a kind of online referencing of Nigeria because of particularities of Nigeria's social media ecosystem. So, I mean, there are a few questions in there because I want to hear your just kind of base level or initial reactions before we dig in more thoroughly. So how do you respond to all of that?
Me, to be honest, I don't think that there's anything deliberate about Kemi's jive.
So you don't think her strategists are like, say Nigeria?
If that's what her strategists are doing, then she needs to fire them. That, if you ask me, because at the end of the day, what's the matrix by which Kemi will be judged on the job is is one that will be supplied essentially by the British voting public, right? So if she's going off on Nigeria all the time, or going off on Nigerian leaders all of the time, and that's not reflected in her polling numbers, even as it were today, in terms of how many people think that she looks like VP material. So I don't see what this pastime, that she engages in, with Nigeria, at the center of it. I don't see what it does for her own.
I mean, it makes her trend.
Yeah, it makes her trend. What's it doing for her potential as the next private minister?
If a strategist is like, I'm going to show you clear numbers, when you say Nigeria, you will see that your numbers online will improve. Then Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying that when you go to polling websites like YouGov, these things mean nothing for her numbers in terms of how popular she's become, whether she's being perceived as prime ministerial. I mean, her numbers are going south in that regard. So, except we're saying that she's in order to make up for this
Exactly.
incompetence.
Maybe because yes, exactly. Maybe the causal link is backwards, isn't it?
So if that's the strategy, then they're doing. I think they might be doing a fantastic job. But I mean, if the strategy were reversed, say that, okay, to the British voting public that it matters, that matters most. This your occasional lash out at the Nigerian leaders or government or Nigeria as a nation. Because I don't want to even go into the merits of what she's saying, because she's saying rubbish to start with. So as far as I'm concerned, and this is more on a more personal scale. I mean, I think that Kemi is a bit thick in the head. Because I don't even know where half of what she's saying is coming from. But that's me being personal. But I'm just saying that in line with what she's elected to do, what she says she is in the office that she holds today.
Yeah.
Me, I just think that she's grossly incompetent. I mean, I think that going forward, that the British voting public would probably dodge a bullet, the earlier they get rid of her.
Well, I mean, the Conservative Party is in some crisis. It's like you can see this as kind of like they're giving you something that is dying to be the leader of, and you know what I mean. It's just like it's the party in some intense crisis. In fact, her being elected as leader of the party, I think, reflects the crisis. So now, in the sense that it clearly they don't care that much about the party if the competition has sunk so low. I've got it, Yeah. So now the question is, how does she get out of this? Like being in a sinking ship and herself not being necessarily all that popular. And maybe they're like, fuck it. I mean, trend online. Let's just try this out. Let's try trending online. And then somebody had the idea of like, wait a minute. One way to do that is is to tap into your heritage, which also happens, fortunately, to be one tied to a country with a very large population and a lot of people online.
English speakers.
Right. Yeah, Oji, how do you read the whole thing?
I feel definitely that it's more in the line of what you've just, mentioned, that look, political capital, you can link it to a social media presence, and you're being trending and being talked about. And how do you do that? I'm sure maybe I'm not 100% sure, but I kind of have a feeling that these are strategies. They will have looked online and seen that, look, anything with Nigeria on or around it, branded, it's going to give you some sort of jump online. And if you need being talked to, if your popularity is sinking and you don't have any sort of currency online, just mention Nigeria one way or the other. You're going to get, rejuvenation or bumping up of views, people talking about you, your name trending, going around, making circles and all that. Because Nigeria just seems like what everybody and their daddy hops on to ride towards social media fame and popularity. And, it's understandable because we are there online. We are the sentinels, like we're just there holding our arms. If even in something being bad on the continent, if you criticize the country for being bad and you're from another place, the way Nigerians will pounce on you and you just become famous and popular online within an hour or 2 hours. People follow you, trend on you, dump on you, do their online fabulence.
Yeah.
So those people might have looked at the numbers and seen that, look, okay, yeah, the party is dying. Well, what the fuck do we have to lose? Let's throw this there and see how the thing will spin out. At least maybe if they're seeing that you're popular or you're talking and your name is trending, and maybe you can clutch on some sort of straw while you're sinking. So these people look at the numbers. Numbers can make you rational or irrational at times. So if it's just plain numbers, then their strategy is working like what the heck I said. That's it. Like, I feel they know that Nigeria is a gold mine for achieving popularity. However, but wherever you stand, but how that popularity affects you, whatever you do with the popularity, how you latch onto it to do stuff, maybe politically, via entertainment and all that, it matters. Even internationally, small things like hawking bread on the streets, getting caught online, snapping, you become popular overnight. You become famous overnight. Not to talk of like international and world, people that, your political figures where if they say stuff, it's going to get the traction that would at least make their name trend for like 1 or 2 days. So I feel it's a strategy online, and Nigerians are the people that fuel these things up, because we are ever present online and we can communicate with everybody since like English is the lingua franca and data is cheap, and people have very high level of one people too, so.
Right. So it's that latter element also that I think is very important to consider, that like there is an extent to which the internet is cheap. I mean, according to some studies, like this Business Day report about summarizing the International Telecommunications Union report of like just earlier in the month. The suggestion is that Nigeria is supposedly one of the cheapest countries in Africa and even the world, apparently, for internet. I think we probably want to assess that report more concretely, but it is out there. If that's the case, then maybe there's even a material base to this kind of appealing to Nigeria, or this sort of trend of people seeming to appeal to Nigeria as a meme online, as a way to get popular. Which, I mean, would then perhaps at least partially explain why a sort of leader of a conservative party, dying conservative party, and unpopular leader might see this as one way out, one possible way out. I mean, on the other hand, maybe she also wants to, maybe this is the beginning of a broader immigration politics focusing on Nigeria and the UK, which could become popular down the line. I mean, if you leaned into Nigeria, which I think in some ways we've had a kind of like model migrant kind of sheen for some time, but at the same time, I mean, there are also probably things about Nigerian immigrants that annoy like the classic conservative voter. So, maybe she sees like a twofold path there where over time she can draw out Nigerians to become the kind of, the people that we have too many of in our country. I might be reading too much into it, but
no, you're not. I don't think you are, because these things, again, like their strategy varies. Immigration is a hot topic, like over in the UK, and even with their rhetorics and what they've been saying. Let's not forget that there was a riot sometime last year about immigrants and all these things. So
yes, indeed.
Yeah, so let's not forget about that. And their party has been championing like immigration policies to cut net migration, cut legal and illegal migration,
and to outflank UKIP, right?
Yeah, so these things all are intertwined. And how do you do it? How do you get people to listen to you? Is by maybe getting that social media popularity, getting much more followers, and what you say might be appealing to a certain base and all that. So, but once you tap into that Nigerian whirlwind of, people online that can spin you up, then, you have that maybe confidence or that sort of internal boost that, people are listening to you, you're popular. See, they are, even from my home country, people are retweeting, even if it's good or bad. Just look at the numbers, how they put graph and pie charts in front of you. Your strategies will be saying all those things, So I feel like, it might actually be setting the stage for all this anti-Japa, those things. Yeah, so that's another angle to look at it. Nothing happens just out of the blue like that. It's the reason why she's saying all these things.
I mean, I'm curious about Mega's take on this. I mean, even leaving aside the question of like what she's doing long term, what Badenoch is doing long term, do you see Nigeria as possibly some kind of trend farm? Do you think people have noticed, or people see outside of Nigeria included, see Nigeria as some sort of trend farm? What do you make of that idea?
I'd say that this idea that Nigeria is a trend farm, is not a strange one, and that there are pointers to it, aren't there? But on the scale within which we're trying to, or maybe not that we're trying to, on the scale that one can fit this whole Kemi Badenoch narrative, as some sort of strategy. I'm not sure that the Nigerian trend farm has that level of sophistry. Especially maybe because I'm a bit slow to accept that she's looking for some popularity. I think that she's popular. I think that on her own terms, first Black migrant to be leader of the opposition is no mean feat, within the Conservative Party. And I remember that you and I have that conversation about that perhaps that the part of the irony with with Great Britain is that it's the Conservative Party that manages to produce Kemi Badenoch.
And Rishi Sunak and Theresa May of course, let's not forget our dear old Auntie Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah. So except perhaps, and I don't put this past her, she's looking for some level of notoriety, which is well the patterns point to me. She said a few things about Nigeria, and she's gotten some really incredible pushback. But she's stubborn, so she's not letting go. So I can see why she's farming for this things, but so the thing is that I just don't see what the long game is for her.
Let's leave her and the long game for her for a moment. And I mean, I'm curious about the long game for Nigeria. I mean, do we want to be a trend farm?
We already are.
Okay.
Baba, that one now something where, I mean, look at the stats, that you read out. You're talking about a country that is almost 200 million plus, right? You're saying that the median age for that country is 18, isn't it? So you have over 100 million, or at least 100 million people who should be of working age, who should be in the job market, right? Now, when you look at the stats that's just began to come out of Nigerian Bureau of Statistics over the last 2 quarters, I think, or maybe the last year. It's not more than the last year, with this rejigging of the methodology for calculating employment or unemployment. A lot of people frown at it because unemployment then comes down to say maybe 4% or thereabouts. But I think that that critique misses a little bit of what's in the new methodology, because they're not saying that people are gainfully employed to the point that the quality of life that they live. It's just that Nigerians will find it's just, I think it says something about the can-do spirit. Nigerians won't sit idly by all day. You get so, but they will find one or two things to put their hands on. And then for us, we know the Nigeria well. We know that there are certain jobs that when you ask people, that's out of your first 3 picks, that's most likely going to be one of, or first 5 picks, that's most likely going to be one of the jobs that most Nigerians do. So many Nigerians, especially females, will say that they are vendors. What's a vendor? But it's a job description. Many people be vendors. If you ask some of the male counterpart, they will tell you, say them they into real estate. What's real estate? They also to get 1% of 10% from land we then sell. So
right.
But these guys are gainfully they put in, so it's the our time. So they could go show person property where they want rent. In a week.
Well, and also these guys might be able to afford data.
Yes, that's the major point that I'm trying to make. Do you understand?
Right. Especially if listen to this stat, man. Especially if like data, according to these ITU people, average data cost in Nigeria is 38 cents per gigabyte. In America, it's $6 per gigabyte. Right. In South Africa, it's $1.77 per gigabyte. In Ethiopia, it's 68, double in Ethiopia than Nigeria. So yeah, Kenya, like Nigeria is sort of lower, even lower in West Africa.
Nigeria will measure up to Ethiopia very soon because there's so they've agreed to 50%.
Exactly. So now, I mean, interesting, this information comes out as partially rationale for the telecoms operators in Nigeria to increase their costs. So it's all part of that debate. But I mean, I suppose I want to consider for a minute the possibility that the cheapness of data in Nigeria is contributing to some kind of bizarre social phenomena, including these trend farms. And I mean, the trend farm question that we've been talking about is the natural trending, right? Like where someone says Nigeria and then a bunch of people in Nigeria pick up on it and start to discuss it and it becomes viral. But then there's also the artificial trend farming, which is like where you have people in a room liking and subscribing for a cost. I mean, which is a thing that happens in Nigeria. I mean, happens in a lot of places.
So that's the one that that I was talking about. That one. When I was making different, when I was saying sophistication levels. I was saying. So there are other degrees of people who invest in creating bots, and all sorts. But I just didn't see where should be going. So that's why I maybe I think that I would rather go with trying to be notorious. And
but there's the organic trend farm, and then there's the fertilizer based.
So what we're talking about with respect to Kemi Badenoch is not fertilizer.
No. We agree.
Is that what? Yeah. So that's
we agree.
That
she's using the organic. The organic trend farm, which in a way maybe travels further actually than the.
It does now, because that's the one. I mean, if you're a minister in Nigeria and you say something that people don't agree with, it doesn't matter if by the time I get to that tweet, whether 20 people have stated exactly what I have to say, I'll still drop by one naira. Okay, and by way of response, so that the person feels the heat, So,
the violence.
Yeah, so that kind of tweet, for instance, would have maybe 1 million views, 1.2 million views, 800,000 views, about 20,000 retweets. Okay, or quote tweets, whatever the case is. But people are responding to that tweet, not essentially because of what the person has said. If I said that, I'd probably get, a few tweets, remarking that, people it didn't see quite well with other people, but I wouldn't get 1.2 million views. So there's something about this farming for engagement that isn't essentially because the price of data.
Okay.
I think that is something that's culturally innate to who Nigerians are.
That's interesting. I mean, say more there, like that there's a way in which we are slightly better at farming for engagement. Is that what you're saying, or that we are a bit more attuned to it culturally? How so?
Listen, if I wanted to raise my tweets, my followership on Twitter by say maybe 100% before the year ends, all I need to do is dedicate my Twitter to controversial tweets along ethnic lines, right? And then I'll get some kind of following for the people who support, you know, what I am saying. And that's just me being me, you know, who is not popular, who isn't famous, right? Okay.
I think you're famous. But anyway, but yeah, let's not get detained on that conversation. But yeah.
So there's a
new so there's some established patterns of farming in Nigeria.
Oh, they're right. The idea is just to be controversial. Even Elon Musk even him will get X.
Oh, sure.
You know, let's forget that the algorithm just puts him in your face. But what he cuts is, you know, controversial subjects, you know, issues and
right.
So that's the way. I mean, so there's something about that algorithm, you know, and I think it's you who raised this. You raised this, you know, a couple of times, you know, which has even been messed up even further. But that for me, I think that you know, Nigerians, this is who they are. You know, Nigerians go even on the road. If you walk out for Nigeria road, you know, something happens, some kind of issue breaks out. You'll see a cluster of people immediately. People go gather, you know, people go give information where they ask them, the one where they don't ask them. I'm saying you go see gathering of immediately gathering of like 1,000 people. Do you understand? But that's who Nigerians. But you and I know that in Europe.
No, but that's really a good thing a fair point to make, because people who don't live in Nigeria currently or haven't been here for a while, you know, might not be aware of this. But I agree with, as in there's a certain kind of spectator culture. You know, spectator, like a broadcast culture as well. So it's kind of like you spectate and then you explain to the people who arrive later on what's happening.
For Age of Town Crier and this thing and all these things. So we can see the cultural, you know, links to all these things, because we go David H Square, Oba talk, people go come stay. So we can there's some sort of maybe virtual like upgrade of culture seeping through. Like, and this is an interesting, you know, this is an interesting point that we've kind of sort of dug out here, you know, like it's interesting. And then when you mix being at any point, at any time, being virtually, you can talk to anybody in the world and say your view and feel like you have that direct contact to them. You know, like if your president says something, you can tell him to shut up, like right in front of his face, even if he's not going to see it, or he's like the social media handle. You feel like you've said your piece to this person. So this contributes to, you know, like people coming out and saying stuff, especially when you now lump a bunch of people like with our population and say Nigerians are this Nigeria. Man, just expect hell online. Even when it comes to Jollof Wars, Senegal will feel the heat, Ghana will feel the heat. We're not playing around, you know. So that's how it is. You know, we'll band together.
Some strays,
we'll band together and talk. Let you know what
South Africa is not an innocent bystander.
No, not at all.
By no means, No, but look, so I mean, maybe as a way to conclude this, so one thing that's then hard to exactly decipher is what is or should be the politics or the direction for progressive politics in respect to the media, social media, and the increased price of data that's likely going to come down the barrel in Nigeria this year. If it's the case that, you know, there is a sense in which discourse is manipulated, or at least there's some conscious appealing to Nigeria by various actors, domestic and foreign, for some trending or to trend online, then, I mean, is this something that should continue to happen? Is it inevitable? Will it be shaped by the changing data costs this year? Should we be saying that data should indeed be more expensive? so that people can focus on real stuff, or should we be resisting the tariff increment on the basis of, well, yeah, at least Nigerians get to be online, and at least it provides them that kind of outlet or uh, entertainment, not to say opiate. What do you think? How based on this should we anticipate responding to the data, the likely increment in cost of data in Nigeria this year?
On the surface, I think that people will adjust and adapt the same way they've been adjusting and adapting to increment of the lifeblood of the country, which is like petrol and fuel, all these things. They will adjust and adapt. But they're going to be hurting businesses and people that are innovative and creative in terms of like, okay, you've not provided jobs, we've not done things, we are doing stuff and making stuff happen online by ourselves, and then you're squeezing us out. It's going to be, a huge pain that people that are pushing their businesses and advertising online, they're going to feel this pain, So how the young people want to react and respond to this is maybe left to be seen, but there's going to be like complaints and people just saying, oh, it's much more expensive, and they'll just keep on with it. You just spend maybe like lesser time online, as Nigerians do. You don't drive your car to work anymore, or you don't drive to unnecessary places. You only some people say they put off their data, all these things. So I feel Nigerians will just adapt and cope.
Some people say, okay.
That's what, some people say they don't take it to work, So I feel like they're just going to be doing much more harm, because Nigerians have proven to be creative and made way where like they've been pushed to the wall, like with the social media, skit makers, content makers, people are advertising services, all these things. Like it means you're then going to add one more layer of hardship to their, condition and scenario, which I feel is not something that is going to be. What's that?
Which I think is a positive, but go.
Yeah. So Mega, you're inclined to say that it's a good thing for the cost of data to go up straight up.
Yes, I think so. We need to find the tipping point.
Okay. So from a kind of accelerationist perspective.
Yeah, we need to find. So if fuel, if cost of fuel no do, we need to know that and cost of data.
Social media go do.
And listening to OAG is just the lick my lips, because they articulate them in such a way where just remind me. I forget to say. There's a whole ecosystem. What drives the Gen Z Nigerian, as it were, today, that depends on the cost of data. Their work. From remote workers, programmers, to content creator, to digital media artists, to digital. So there's a whole. There's essentially, a fat chunk of that service sector, which is one of Nigeria's most vibrant, economic sector, that has to depend on the cost of data. And if you notice, it's been negotiations that have been, because the guys wanted to do 100% increase. At some point, the idea of 60% was mooted. Now they settled for about 50%. So it's an opportunity to see how.
Interestingly, the government is fighting on the behalf of Nigerians, seemingly.
Them get data where you never get. They know say it will be gunpowder way. They all,
if you increase the cost of
opium. I think it's happened in some parts of Africa where cost of data, I'm not sure.
It has. Yeah. We'll find the reference, but it has.
Yeah, so that's one way that I see just listening to OAG now, that's that cost of increase, would be nice to see. The second part of your question, in terms of I think how the left how the left should interpret that tendency. I think that's what it was.
Because the left is fighting in Nigeria, as in thinking about the social movement left, for one. They kind of have the same response to any tariff increment, which is resist. And of course, the social movement left is also very online. So it's going to affect them directly.
Okay, but
cost of data go up. So I wonder, what should be the response really to the cost of data?
Okay, so my initial submission still stands as one member of that cell or tendency.
Right.
But yes, for me, I think it should. That's, I mean, it shouldn't be fought if it propels some form of resistance, because you can bet that when that happens, the issue wouldn't even be the price of data. It will be multiple facing. Yeah. So that's one part of it. But the part that I wanted to speak to that kind of remember now is, I also think that the socialists and the left should understand, social media or the media space, the digital media space, as a tease. There's no point theorizing what it should be, and what is. Yeah, I think that you take that space and you use it the way bourgeois use it for your own end, which is what would be different from, theirs. So when people go on there to polarize society, by harping on stories that are more divisive, in terms of the ethnic bigotry, then our job is to go there and draw the kind of propaganda that shows that there are other sides to ethnicity, that you can draw some positivity from, and that, so it then begins to become, a battle of narratives, if you ask me. But there's no point shying away from, use the medium as it is, as the way, but then use it, for maybe greater good, if you like.
Right. Irrespective of the price.
Well,
yeah, Oji, what do you think of this whole price thing? I mean, do you buy Mega's accelerationism?
See, the thing is, contradictions, they happen for this Nigeria all day. A lot of things will be wrong, and like he said, once it starts and if it matures into something that will be able to mobilize everyone, just like the NSAS did, you see at some point it was spinning into end governance, and the ruling class was getting scared and they had to kill people at the toll gate. That's it. You might just have one little, and I think on some episodes here, we've mentioned that it might just be one random thing. You have like a place at washing gasoline and you just crack two stones together, or your belt buckle just hits something and it sparks, and then the whole place catches on fire. You think, oh, it's just my belt buckle. No, man. It's just the layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of hardship that have been parachuting down on the people, and the people are ready to burst and explode. So you just put that cherry on the cake. It might be that it's the social media thing and the increment of tariff for social media or data that just blows the whole thing. So I think at every corner, any misdeed of this ruling class might be the nail in their coffin. It's obvious that it might not be the fuel price, but the hurt, the resentment, the anger is bubbling and pressurizing in the minds of people. So they are waiting like, okay, you've done this few one now. We didn't talk. There's nothing happened. You've done NSAS. People are still, trying to get justice and closure on that. You're doing it. So it's to get to a point where people will just explode. So let them keep piling on top of their, their iceberg. Every bad thing they feel they want to be piling on the people. But history has taught us that at some point, it might just be the randomest thing, and it will happen, and we'll think it's just data now, but the price for petrol was much more than this. Yeah, but people are building up, and the resentment is pressurizing. So at some point you get that explosion. So that's just the laws of history and social dynamics. It's not us. It's not Nigerian scam. It's just history.
Yeah. Even despite certain peculiarities or modifications that might apply here in terms of the what and the when, etc. But look, I think we should probably wrap up on those terms. There's a few other topics that we had intended to talk about, including the recent elections in Africa. Kenya, Botswana, Mauritius, Mozambique included. Oh, not Kenya, Ghana, I'm sorry. Ghana and the others. There should be elections in Kenya. So they could kick out that asshole Ruto, but not for another couple of years. So we had hoped to talk about that issue, but we're really out of time today. And that issue probably deserves its own total episode. So, if you're interested in Africa and politics, which surely you are if you're listening to this, then stand by for more on that in episodes to come. I think though that there's been some interesting things said here nonetheless. I mean, it's possible that Nigeria is, as one leftist said, the Agbero of the internet world. What was the whole statement?
The Agbero of internet and social media world, man. Just call our names, we'll pop out of the woods and start breaking bottles and stabbing anybody.
And yes, and it's
from Washington DC to Ghana, we are there for everybody.
To London, to Joburg.
Yes, so
but what is the real cost of that quote unquote violence, right? The cost will go up this year, and also the cost for our mental health and psyche, and the cost for our political awareness and consciousness also seem to be quite high.
Yeah, and ability to mobilize, all that.
Indeed. Or to organize. I mean, mobilizing might be easier in a context where internet is cheap, but if it basically is just kind of herding a crowd that dissipates, then maybe the deeper work is being avoided based on this. So so maybe I think maybe one takeaway is to say that the increments in the cost of data might be a double-edged sword in some ways, right? Like maybe it might if not push people to really consider the package of policies that are affecting their lives, and maybe at least push people into more productive sectors of the economy more than the trend farming and what are the other things I said real estate.
Vendor.
Being a vendor. Maybe it might push certain unproductive podcasts out of business, creating space for other more productive podcasts to survive.
What they do wedding? Sorry.
Event planning,
event planner,
makeup, cake baking. There's a huge ecosystem that leverages on social media, and they're going to be trying to mess with that, So we'll see how it goes.
Well, creative destruction. This is what's peculiar to capitalism. All that solid melts into the air, etc., etc. Anyway, I guess we can leave it there. Any final thoughts? Any plugs? Any New Year's resolutions you want to share?
Just keep listening to the Nigerian Scam, man. We're here dishing out good episodes. So log in and tell your friends about the podcast. That's it. Share it and comment.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Also, tell your enemies as well and send emails.
Send receipts.
Excellent. All right, let's leave it there then.